Hey, what is up guys? My name is Oleg, this is Bond. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel and like the content, please subscribe so you don't miss any videos. So if you've been following the channel for a while now, you probably know that I love vintage watches. I think there could be some really great gems hidden in the vintage watch market, and those watches are a lot more affordable than you think. So on my channel, I already reviewed 2 of the watches that I found on the flea market. Since that time, I actually found a few more watches, and those reviews are coming to be sure. But in this video, I want to focus on one of the watches that I found a while back, a Tissot Seastar. So let's get into the review. Alright guys, so here is my vintage Tissot Seastar from 1975, 1976, something like that. That's where I place it based on all of my research. Now let's start this review by looking at the basic dimensions. We have a diameter of 35 millimeters, a lug to lug width of 40 millimeters, a lug width of 18 millimeters, and the thickness of almost 12 millimeters. So 35 millimeters by today's standards is fairly small for a dress watch. You don't see very many dress watches of under 38 millimeters in diameter. But I actually like that smaller size on this watch. I think it fits the design and the overall aesthetic that this watch has really well. I think if this watch was bigger, maybe 37 millimeters, it would lose that charm, that appeal that the watch has. And also has a pretty good lug to lug width. So it sits on the wrist really well, and of course I'll do a wrist shot by the end of this video. So a little background as to how I came to buy this watch. So I have this little routine almost every Saturday morning. I like to have my morning coffee, have a protein shake, and ride my bicycle down to a flea market. It's nice to get there nice and early so you get all the good stuff, all the good watches before they are sold. So on this particular Saturday, I actually went with my girlfriend, so I didn't ride a bicycle, but we found 2 great watches, so maybe I should bring her more often. She brought some good luck to me. So first one was that vintage Timex that I already reviewed. And the second watch was this. So that vintage Timex, if you remember, I bought for around 10 Canadian dollars. Actually, sorry, it was 8 Canadian dollars because it was listed at 10, but I negotiated the price down for that Timex to $8. So that's about $5.50, $6.50 of US dollars. Fantastic price for a vintage Timex, in my opinion. Now this watch here was of course more expensive. So the seller actually didn't have this watch out on the display. Sometimes I guess they don't like to display all of their watches, so if you see a seller that has some watches, usually ask if they have any mechanical watches, and if they do, they will show you those mechanical watches. So he had this one kind of under the counter in his special jewelry box. So he showed me a few different examples. So he had this Tissot, he had a few different Timex watches. Since I already purchased a Timex watch a few minutes before, I wasn't really interested in buying another Timex watch. He had this Tissot Seastar, and he had a couple of different examples of other vintage watches. I actually can't remember exactly what they were. Now this watch right away caught my eye, and he wanted 75 Canadian dollars. We went back and forth, and I got him down to 50 Canadian dollars. Now the reason why he came down in price so much, well, actually a couple of reasons. Number one, the fact that the crystal was really scratched up. As you can see now, the crystal is in a pretty good shape. What I did, I used the old nail filer and toothpaste technique that I actually shared on my channel. Again, that video can be found on the channel. It worked really well for this watch. I mean, the crystal looks great, and I got for sure a few more years of use out of it. It's just an acrylic crystal. So the crystal was scratched up, and also the band that was on this watch was this band. Just look how ugly this is. It's cheap, it's old, it's falling apart, so the watch wasn't presenting itself really well. Now the seller knew that Tissot is a pretty well-known brand. He didn't know much about watches, so he's like, yeah, 50 bucks, sure, I'll sell it to you. And I think, in my opinion, I got a fantastic deal for $50. Remember, that's Canadian dollars. In US dollars, that's around 40 US dollars. I think paying $50 for any Swiss-made automatic watch is a fantastic deal. Now buying a 1970s Swiss automatic vintage Tissot is a fantastic deal because Tissot is a well-known brand. Their Seastar line of watches is very iconic.
very recognizable, so I was extremely happy to purchase this watch. The watch is all gold plated, and you can see at some spots, like right here, the gold plating is actually coming off, or came off a little bit. Other than that, it's actually in a pretty good shape. The back is just a screw down stainless steel case back, nothing special here. And the crown looks like it's not from this watch, but I actually believe it's an original crown, because you can see it's still signed with the Tissot logo. But just over the years, the gold plating on the crown has really worn off, so the base metal underneath is showing, and it almost looks like it's a crown from a different watch. Taking a closer look at this dial, and you can see how much detail has gone into designing this watch. You have applied Tissot logo by the 12 o'clock position. We have the date window by 3 o'clock position with the date frame, again done really well. We have Seastar and automatic by 6 o'clock position. Swiss made written, again lower by 6 o'clock position, and even the minute track looks incredible. I like that they made the minute track closer to the center of the dial, as opposed to having it on the outer edges of the dial. Just makes this watch stand out and makes it a little bit more unique. To be honest, from all the research that I've done on this watch, I couldn't find exactly the same dial variation, so maybe by accident I bought a rare dial, applied indices for all the hour markings, and a little bit of sunburst effect from the center of that dial, just ever so slightly. Now normally I wouldn't go for all gold looking watch, because it's gold plated and the dial is kind of gold, champagne look, I guess, to it. So this watch wouldn't really be my style, but after wearing it for a bit, I really like it, and it's just weird how some watches can just change your style, your perception. If you remember the first time I showed this watch, I told you guys that I had a bit of a moisture problem, so I was washing my hands and I think washing Bond's bowls, and I got some moisture inside the case and I couldn't get rid of it for a while. Thank you so much for your comments. They really helped, and I actually just love that we have this little community where you guys can help me, and hopefully I can share some information that's useful with you guys and we can all benefit from it. So I got some great suggestions, so I did those things, and actually the moisture problem is gone. I do think that this watch needs a service. While we're on the subject of the movement, the watch features Tissot 2481 movement, which is basically equivalent to Omega 1481. Now Omega 1841 is featured in some Omega Genève models from 1970s, and of course those watches are sold for a lot more with pretty much the same movement as this. Just shows you the power of Omega brand. Now the movement is automatic and it also has hand winding. This is what hand winding sounds like. Love that sound. It's a low beat movement, 21,600 beats per hour, and it also has a quick set date. It's not a regular quick set date where you put the crown in the first position and you just easily change the date. What you have to do is basically you have to manually change the date. So now it's 22nd. Then we go back until we see that little snap, and now we go forward 23rd, and just repeat this process over and over again until we got our desired date. So a little hack there, not as convenient as the modern quick set date, but not too bad. I put the watch on this brown leather strap with white stitching going across it. I'm not sure who makes this band. I took it off one of the other vintage watches that I have in my collection. It fits the overall aesthetic of the watch really well. It makes it stand out. I love wearing this watch with brown shoes. Of course, you need to match the band to the shoes, but that's a different conversation. And we also have this tank buckle here, which I need to replace for a tank buckle that will match the color of the case, because of course this looks stainless steel and this is a gold look. Doesn't really match. Now before I give you a wrist shot of this watch, let me share a couple of other watches that I have recently purchased at the flea market. So I purchased this watch here just a few weeks ago at the flea market. I paid a fantastic price for it. It's a vintage Timex from 1970s. Love that gray dial. It actually works really well on a NATO. Of course, now I have it on this brown leather strap. It works well as a dress watch, but also works as a sports watch. And these little vintage Timexes have fantastic timekeeping capabilities. This watch here and this watch here that I already reviewed for you guys are keeping time really well. They have very simple mechanisms, simple to service, simple to manage, simple to source parts for, and they're incredibly cheap. So I picked up this watch here. I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for it. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see a review of this watch. And I also picked up this watch here at the Antiques show not too long ago. I actually don't know too much about this brand. Gnosis, I guess that's how you pronounce it. It's 21 joules hand winding mechanism. Cool thing about this one is the date wheel is all red, so all the dates are in red. The hands are a bit short, again, kind of a weird design to it. Don't know too much about this brand. I got a pretty good deal on this watch, I think. And let me know again if you'd like me to do a review of this watch. And I also bought another Timex. That one is really cool as well, and I got a fantastic deal for that one, even cheaper than this watch. And remember, I paid $6.50 US for this one, so you can imagine how cheap that watch is. Unfortunately, my girlfriend is wearing it to work right now, so I don't have it to show it to you. All right, guys, so here's the watch on my 7¼ inch wrist. Please excuse the ink stains. I had a little accident at work today. It happens to the best of us. The watch fits on my wrist really well. I love how it looks. I love how it fits. Of course, it's very comfortable, very light, and the long lug-to-lug width makes it look almost like a modern watch and not like a vintage timepiece. All right, guys, so that was my review of the vintage Tissot Seastar. I really love this watch. The size is perfect, it fits my wrist well, and I find myself wearing it all the time, especially to the formal occasions or if I wear a suit. I appreciate you watching until the end. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already, and let me know in a comment section if you have any experience with vintage Tissot models, or what is your go-to vintage brand if you are into vintage watches. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.